Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. We got a couple of topics for today. Wasn't expecting a whole lot, but then just kind of was reading a few things here and there, and I was like, I would like to talk about that, and I would like to talk about that, and just kind of snowballed, and we have a couple of topics now for this week. So I'm just gonna cut this short, and we're just gonna dive right on in. So, of course, the big story for this week is in regards to Snow White. We're getting pretty close to the release, and promotional marketing, all that stuff has been full swing. Been seeing the trailer just pop up pretty much all the time on YouTube. So they're pretty, just doing what they can. Now we talked about in the last video how the mentalities over at Disney right now in regarding to how they're marketing the film, just their lack of confidence, their need to do what they're doing, but at the same time, it's it's without much faith that this is going to do too well. And given the projections, I don't blame them too much. But we have a little more insight thanks to an article from the Hollywood Reporter that gives us a little bit more insight as to the decisions behind the promotional campaign and some specific decisions that have happened to avoid lines of questioning from the cast. In regards to the backlash that has happened online, discussions about the production itself. Trying to keep it as PC as possible. So we'll get into it. So according to the article, the cast has actually been separated to promote in different markets. So Gal Gadot is remaining in the U.S. She's in very selective outlets. I think like Good Morning America and some other places. Basically, people who are probably bought out by Disney or have Disney has stock in those companies, so they're able to dictate to those outlets what kinds of questions can be asked versus other outlets where they don't have as much of a say. Whereas Rachel Ziegler and the filmmaker Mark Webb are actually marketing in foreign nations. Heard that they went to Tokyo and now that they're in Spain. And they'll be returning, I believe, as of this recording, I believe today is the LA premiere, if I read the article correctly. They will be flying back for the LA premiere, which is also avoiding a media showcase or a red carpet premiere. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the vibe, right now with Disney, it doesn't seem that they're very happy, at least by just how the current state of the film is. They're pretty eager to get it out. As according to one executive, they're just ready to get this thing out of here and leave it behind them. They also appear to be, as we've illustrated, very unconfident by the product itself. As the article points out, they had only released tickets about 2 weeks out from its release, which traditionally, with big products like this, you would usually have like a month out to really build up hype and interest. But for them to put it out 2 weeks in advance kind of speaks to their overall confidence in their product. No word on the actual marketing expenses themselves. We don't know how much they've spent on marketing. It appears that it might be a little bit smaller, so it might not be $100 million. Still, we're probably looking at it at a fair number, but yeah. So I mean, it's it just seems like they're just ready to push this thing out, and they're ready for just leaving it behind. And given what has transpired in the past few years with this production, the reception from the online community, just the lackluster projections right now domestically, I'm not surprised to hear that the studio has no faith in this. I mean, all signs point to this being a major loss for them. I believe they're preparing for that. And all validated when you simply view its production cost, which is over $200 million. So I do believe a proper press tour, even on a smaller scale, I feel should be provided, and not essentially just shipping off the main star to a foreign nation to avoid any questions. I feel that's pretty unfair for her, and kind of again a bad practice, um, or just to say a bad practice. You either have her do press here, or don't have her do press at all. I think having her do press in a nation that could care less for the film, which in turn does not create problems for the studio. It's them controlling the situation. I just feel it's a little insulting, to be honest. Especially because, as I've illustrated, I just don't think Ziegler. I don't think her comments. I just don't think. I think people have blown that out of proportion, and they've, have connected it to the film that I feel is unwarranted. Um, I understand they want to control the message, but the damage has been done, and I think that they might as well just embrace the chaos at this point. Let these actors be out there, maybe not in such a large scale, but let them interact, let them do what they do, and if the studio is aware that this is not going to make money, I don't see why then you have to do what you're doing. I understand it's a business and you still have to commit to some extent, but I mean, the writing's on the wall. Everybody sees what the outcome of this is going to be, and it's just very unfortunate, especially for Ziegler. I feel really bad for her. I just feel really bad that that she was put in a position that's pretty limiting, and just for her career. It's gonna be interesting see where her career goes after this, because it's shaping to be a big bomb. So, but we'll see what happens. Comes out this week as this recording, or the as of this release of this video. But we'll just see what happens there. Going from one controversy to the next, let's get to some more information regarding the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively case. Appears that Blake Lively has scored something of a victory for her. I don't really think it is once we kind of discuss it, but she has been able to secure a confidentiality order, which is now going to limit the kind of information that's being released out to the public, and it's enforcing privacy now between the attorneys. So what this does now is that before there was a more of a leniency in terms of Baldoni's team, in terms of what they release online, because they've been releasing a bunch of things online to support his case for the past couple of months, where Blake Lively has not really done much of anything except just responding to the stuff that's out there, which in turn is insubstantial. But the rationale behind this specific order is that there are fears, mainly from Blake Lively's team, that information could get leaked upon discovery of it from opposing attorneys or clients, and because of that, the judge sees that there is a need now for a confidentiality order. So, once again, I firmly believe that this cements the legitimacy of her case and her inability to generate evidence to support her allegations, choosing to now hide what is being discovered within the fears of repercussions towards her career. Like, she's more just trying to save face. She's just trying to not really fight it anymore, as much as just hide for now for basically an entire year. And I honestly don't see why this trial is taking so long now. Like, I just don't see why we need an entire year. It's completely in Baldoni's favor at this point. He's very much, in my opinion, innocent, and Lively is pretty much just delaying the inevitable. So I don't see this as a win as much as it's more of a further illustration of just how insufficient and questionable her whole case is. So, because if she really really had evidence, then why aren't you putting out information? If your client, or if your if the person that you're suing is able to prove his innocence, or prove, substantial, if it's able to refute your claims, how are you not presenting things also? And why do you think it's in your best interest to hide? Because that's what that ultimately is hiding. Well, how do you believe that's a benefit to you? I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. And I think that having just squarely his information out there just looks really bad for her case. So, especially when she's not able to provide any substantial evidence to support her claims outside of statements. Oh, I have these two actresses that will advocate for me. Well, who are their names? Oh, I won't give that information. Who is? I have these messages. Oh, show us. Oh, here they are. Well, these are edited messages that are also probably completely out of context. Like, yeah. So I think she understands that she is in a bad position, and the only way out of it is through something like this. So it's an escape code, and that's just how she's probably going to sit now for an entire year. So we probably won't hear a whole lot for a while now because of this confidentiality order. Maybe there'll be some other developments, but probably going to be pretty silent for quite a bit of time. And it'll be really interesting to see how Hollywood deals with her once this is all said and done, because I really doubt she's going to come out squeaky clean when this is all done. Once the smoke clears, I think it's going to be interesting for Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, how their careers shape once this is all said and done. So we'll see what happens in a year's time. I think Baldoni's Baldoni's got this one, if you ask me. So. Alrighty, let's get into something pretty interesting. This came out yesterday. Yesterday being the 13th. This being recorded on the 14th. This is rather interesting. So, according to multiple reputable sources, the mayor of Miami Beach, Stephen Maynor, I think I say his name, he is requesting for the city to end the lease agreement for a nonprofit theater organization, that theater organization being O Cinema, for their inclusion of the documentary entitled No Other Land, which most recently took home the prize for Best Documentary at the Academy Awards. The proposal will see an immediate termination of the lease agreement, as well as eliminating at least $40,000 in grants provided from the city, according to Deadline's report. The film began screening at the theater last Friday, according to Deadline, and the film has been a subject of controversy surrounding its depictions and conversations relating to the Palestinian culture, which that in and of itself, Palestine and Israel and all that jazz. Obviously, there's going to be controversy there because there's a lot, political conversations taking place about that. So much so that the U.S. distributors have actually declined to pick up the piece at all. So that's why you probably hadn't seen it in any notable markets or any notable theater chains, because the U.S. distributors just said no. So they've been seeking out independent venues, such as nonprofit organizations, and that's why venues such as this are showing it. So now, here is my feeling on this. Now, so I have not seen the film, and I don't have much of an interest. I just, I did a video about how I feel about documentaries today, and I'll probably leave it at the end of this video so you guys can check that out. But I think that this is an example of extremism within political agendas, and to my view, a form of dictatorship, because the film may indeed provide a perspective that makes you uncomfortable or that you completely disagree with. And you're allowed to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way. It's nothing wrong with feeling that you look at something and you see how it's discussing a topic and you disagree with that. I've had many reviews where I've discussed films that have political ideologies, and I disagree with those ideologies. And sometimes that, depending on how it's embedded into the film, sometimes I can detach from that, and other times I can't, depending on depending on the volume of that ideology and how it's embedded into the film. So there's nothing wrong with feeling that way. Film is all subjective at the end of the day, so you're allowed to have an opinion. Where it becomes, in my opinion, pathetic, to me at least, is when you have to project your beliefs onto other people. Especially, mind you, a business like this that has nothing to do with the film itself. They're only distributing it. Or at least they're just taking it in to their theater. So, like, they have literally nothing on the movie. They have nothing. So, for you to say, we're just going to basically shut down this theater chain, or completely renovate it with people that will respect my political beliefs, because that's ultimately what they're doing. That's what this mayor is seeking to do, is that he is wanting to remove this film remove all this funding for this theater chain simply because there's a film there that discusses things that he doesn't like. That's a really bad precedent to be setting here, in my opinion. And this theater chain, especially being nonprofit, they have every right to accept, politically motivated or not, doesn't matter the intentions behind why they accept the film. They are allowed to accept films that they believe should be showcased in their venue. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I'm just speaking purely on business. I'm not talking about politics. Yeah, you can have your opinions on the film. That's what I said. If you want to view the film as propaganda, that's your right. If you think that it's well informed, if you think that there's great commentary there, that's also your right. As much of a right you have to have an opinion of the movie, that same also extends to whether you accept that film or not. And that venue has every right to accept or deny movies. And if it happens to have a political agenda to it, it's their right as a business. As a business, And if you disagree with what's in that theater, don't go to that theater. It's simple. There's plenty of other theaters, plenty of theaters in the U.S. that have not accepted this movie. So, so I think that it's completely pathetic on this person's part to be attacking this theater organization and directly damaging their brand, directly damaging their business. I wouldn't put it past them if they decided to sue this specific organization. I wouldn't be surprised if a lawsuit is for this mayor's future, in the next few days. I wouldn't put it past them. I honestly wouldn't, because it's directly damaging their business. Directly, absolutely directly destroying their business. All because there's a film there that this guy doesn't like. He views as anti-Semitic or whatever, whatever words you want to use. That's this person's problem. Not because there's money laundering or because there's shady business going on in that specific chain. Nothing like that. It's just because that film is there and I don't want it there. Oh, you guys are not going to review it, remove it? Fine. Then you guys don't get any funding. No funding whatsoever. And we're going to take away your lease agreement. So you're not even going to have that building anymore. That's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I would not put it past these guys if they want to sue. I would not put it past them at all. So this is ridiculous. And this is just a part of the political sphere that I just completely disagree with. You can have your opinions, but don't force it down people's throats or make it to or threaten them this way. Because this is basically a threat. And I think that that's just ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous, if you were to ask me. So. Alrighty, we got a couple of trailers to discuss for today. We're just gonna get right into it. So the first trailer we're going to discuss is for Lilo and Stitch. We finally got a first full look at the film. The stars Zach Galifianakis, Courtney B. Vance, Hannah Waddingham, and Tia Carrere. I think that's how you say those names. Sorry if I butchered them. Directed by Dean Fleischer Camp, who has done some films, some of which include Fraud and most notably Marshall the Shell with Shoes On, which I wanted to see but never got around to seeing it. This has a release date for May 23rd, 2025 in theaters. And it feels like something that should be put on Disney Plus. If I'm just being completely honest. I think that financially it will bow to do well. I'm just speaking by general quality. It feels more suitable for something on Disney Plus. And the cat's meowing. I think it's more suitable for a smaller platform, if you were to ask me. But seeing a little more footage from it, because before it was very insufficient to really judge things. It looks to be, I'll say, minimally charming in its execution. What I mean by that is that I could care less, but I acknowledge that it isn't completely without some kind of merit. The cast seems a little appealing, and overall, just the overall framing of the story doesn't seem so pathetic or as heartless. So I'm confident it will be a draw, because I doubt it'll be like they're putting a lot of money behind this. Judging by the trailer, it seems like it's going to be fairly cheap. And knowing, some people, they probably recognize the name of Lilo and Stitch, so it might prove to do fine. But we'll see what happens. It'll be out in May, so we'll see how that all works out. So. All right, going from one film to the next, we have the official trailer now for F1. This is the Brad Pitt Formula One racing film. We talked about this when the teaser came out, and wasn't really enthused by it. Now we have a full trailer, kind of giving us a better look at the film. And bless me. Outside of the practical elements on display with the Formula One vehicles, kind of tearing up the race course, them actually operating in those cars, at least it appears to be. Kind of pulling a Top Gun effect. This being directed by the guy who did Top Gun Maverick, so probably having the actors in the a secondary cockpit or something like that. They're not actually operating the vehicles, but who knows? Still looks kind of neat knowing that they're actually driving around and stuff. But outside of that, I don't see where any of my interest would go towards just some fair spectacle. It's a very cliche sports narrative of a rookie racer being trained by the veteran, learning from each other along the way, learning what makes a champion. Very, typical things that you would find in your sports films. So, and by the metric of what it is, it being a sports film, I highly doubt that it's going to be a big draw. This comes out on June 27th, so they're putting this right in the heart of the summer. I don't see this being a huge draw, especially given its reported budget. Supposedly, it has a budget of $300 million. So, yeah, this has to be like a massive, massive draw. And I just don't see it going that way. So, I'm not really interested in it just by what I've seen. So, I'm be curious to see if a lot of you guys will be interested in it, but that's to be seen. So, and finally, we have a teaser for the film The Life of Chuck. This is Mike Flanagan's next film. Mike Flanagan, you guys are probably familiar with, pretty well versed in horror, also well versed in Stephen King. Directed a couple of Stephen King films, including Doctor Sleep, which we've discussed on this channel, as well as Gerald's Game, which is also pretty good. Also notable for the television series, The Haunting of the Hill House. So he's pretty well versed in horror. He's one of the more modern type filmmakers that are kind of vetted in the horror genre. Like people, have grown to appreciate him, in the same vein as someone like a Jordan Peele, for instance, But this is yet another Stephen King adaptation, and this has a big cast attached to it. Tom Hiddleston, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, Matthew Lillard, Mark Hamill, amongst a few other names here and there. This has a release date for June 6, 2025, and this is a tease, so it's just a little snippet of footage and just kind of providing, I guess, a feel for the movie, tonally speaking. And I gotta say, if that is the tone that's being painted, which to me feels fairly self-reflective and meditative in terms of an aura, kind of echoing by the music choice, a little bit of Interstellar. I'm kind of interested. I'm interested to see more to kind of determine if it's worth seeing. I'm actually glad to see a Stephen King adaptation that isn't automatically that of horror material. I know Stephen King is, really well known for horror stuff, but he's also done stuff like The Shawshank Redemption, which is very much the opposite to a horror. So it's good to see something like that, taking center stage again, and with a, pretty big cast. So, and with an interesting filmmaker like Mike Flanagan. So we'll see. We definitely need more footage to determine how I feel about it, but by that tone, it's definitely caught my interest. So I definitely would be curious to see more. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. A couple of topics here and there, mainly a lot of controversy, and a couple of trailers to discuss. But you guys want to hear your thoughts on all of these controversial discussions in the comment section below. Be nice, because one of these is kind of gets into a political debate. Just, be neutral, be respectful. We're here to talk about movies. Just be cool. You can have whatever discussions you want. I'm just saying, just be respectful. Just be neutral. Be hostile. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts on all these topics with the trailers and these topics in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, my voice almost gave out. Sorry. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.